A hotel elevator. Downtown Los Angeles, California. February the 1st, 2013. 12:53 in the morning. A young woman steps inside. She presses a button, then another, then another. She presses nearly every single floor. The elevator does not move. She steps back out into the hallway, looks left, looks right, then left again. She presses herself flat against the wall outside the elevator, like she is hiding, like something is coming down that corridor, and she needs it to pass without noticing her. But there is nothing there. The hallway is completely empty. She goes back into the elevator, and then her hands begin to move, slowly, expressively, like she is trying to speak to something that is not there. The elevator doors try to close. They can't. She is standing in the exact spot where the sensor breaks. She looks up, directly into the camera. Then she walks out of frame. The elevator closes, empty. That footage is real. It was captured on the night of February the 1st, 2013. At the Cecil Hotel in downtown Los Angeles, California. The young woman in that video was 21-year-old Elisa Lam, a university student from Vancouver. Somebody's daughter. On a solo trip she had been dreaming about for months. That was the last time any camera ever recorded her alive. 19 days later, guests at the Cecil Hotel began complaining about the water. They said it tasted different. It looked darker than usual. It had a smell they couldn't identify. On February the 19th, a maintenance worker climbed to the roof. He opened the hatch on one of the building's water supply tanks. And he found her. Elisa Lam's body was inside the tank. She had been there for 19 days, feeding water to every floor of the hotel, to every room, to every shower, to every glass. Tonight, we go inside this case. The real footage, the real evidence, the real facts that were buried under years of internet conspiracy. And we answer the one question nobody has been able to put to rest. What was Elisa Lam so terrified of in that elevator? 640 South Main Street, downtown Los Angeles. The Cecil Hotel was built in 1924. 14 floors, grand lobby, marble floors, designed to be one of the finest hotels in the city. That dream died before the decade was over. By the 1930s, as the Great Depression hollowed out Los Angeles, the Cecil had become something else entirely. A cheap transient hotel on the edge of Skid Row, a place where people went when they had nowhere else to go, a place where the city's forgotten gathered, and sometimes simply disappeared. The death count inside the Cecil Hotel is documented at a minimum of 16 people over the decades. Suicides. Unexplained falls. A woman thrown from a window who landed on a pedestrian below, killing them both. Bodies found in rooms days after checkout. A man who died and was not discovered for weeks. But it gets worse. In the 1980s, a man named Richard Ramirez rented a room at the Cecil Hotel. You may know him by his other name, the Night Stalker, a serial killer who terrorized Los Angeles and San Francisco, killing at least 13 people. He would go out at night, commit unspeakable acts, return to the Cecil, discard his bloody clothing in the dumpster outside, then walk through the lobby, take the elevator, go to bed. No one knew. Years later, Austrian serial killer Jack Unterweger checked into the Cecil while on a press trip to Los Angeles. He had already murdered multiple women in Europe. During his stay at the Cecil, he killed 3 more women in Los Angeles. He checked out on time, paid his bill. The hotel staff said he had been a perfectly pleasant guest. This is the building Elisa Lam walked into on January the 29th, 2013, carrying her backpack, looking forward to her trip. Before we go any further, you need to know who she was, not as a victim, not as a case file, as a person. Elisa was born April the 30th, 1991, in Vancouver, British Columbia. Her parents had immigrated from Hong Kong, built a life, ran a restaurant, raised their daughter. Elisa studied at the University of British Columbia. She kept a blog for years, writing about fashion, art, books, culture. She was thoughtful, curious. She wrote in a way that made strangers on the internet feel like they knew her. She also carried something heavy. Elisa had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and depression. She was prescribed multiple medications, mood stabilizers, antidepressants, and for most of her life, she managed it. She functioned. She created. She planned trips and made friends and filled her world with things she loved. But bipolar disorder is not consistent. It does not follow a schedule. And the wrong combination of stress, unfamiliar surroundings, disrupted sleep, and inconsistent medication can push someone from stability into crisis, sometimes overnight. In January 2013, Elisa had been showing small signs. On January the 9th, 2 weeks before she flew to Los Angeles, she wrote on her Tumblr blog, "This is the very start of my depression. And today, I am feeling very low." She posted that. And then she got on the plane anyway. Because Elisa Lam was not someone who let fear stop her. That was one of the things that made her remarkable. And it was the thing that put her in the most dangerous building in Los Angeles, alone. When her mind began to break, Elisa flew south, San Jose, San Diego. She missed a flight once, got confused in the airport. She posted to her blog that her trip had been mostly quiet, ordinary. Then she added something, almost offhandedly. "Every now and then I do something entirely impulsive and reckless." On January the 28th, she arrived in Los Angeles. She checked into the Cecil Hotel, chosen because it was cheap, central, and listed on budget travel sites as a decent option for solo travelers. 2 days later, her anonymous roommates complained to hotel management. They said her behavior was disturbing them. The hotel moved Elisa to a private room, alone, on the 5th floor. January the 31st, her checkout date. The last confirmed sighting of Elisa Lam alive was at a bookstore down the street called The Last Bookstore. The employee who served her remembered her clearly. She said Elisa was outgoing, lively, friendly, picking out books, worrying about whether they would be too heavy to carry on her trip. She was cheerful, normal, present. She walked out of that bookstore. She never made it to Santa Cruz. It is after midnight, February the 1st, 2013. You are looking at the world through the lens of a security camera, mounted in the top corner of a hotel elevator, at the Cecil Hotel, Los Angeles, California. The elevator is empty. The fluorescent light overhead hums. The doors are open. At 12:53 a.m., Elisa Lam steps inside. She's wearing a red hoodie, dark shorts. She has a backpack. She looks alert. She reaches for the button panel. She presses a floor, then another, multiple floors. Simultaneously, the elevator does not move. She steps to the edge of the doorway, looks left down the corridor. Nothing. Looks right. Nothing. She flattens herself against the wall just outside the elevator, pressing her back completely against it, like she is making herself as small as possible. Ask yourself, what does a person do that for? You press yourself against a wall when you do not want to be seen. When something is coming, and you need it to pass without noticing you. But there is nothing in that hallway. The camera shows the full length, both directions, every door, every shadow, nothing. She goes back into the elevator, and now her hands begin to move. This is the part of the footage that has disturbed people most deeply for over a decade. Her hands rise in front of her body. They move in slow, deliberate gestures, almost like she is trying to communicate, reaching outward, turning, directed at nothing, at the air in front of her, at the empty elevator. She looks down at her own hands while they move, like she is watching them from outside herself. The elevator doors attempt to close again. They can't. She is standing in the gap right where the sensor is. She manually pushes the doors, opens them wider, tests the mechanism with her fingers, then steps out of the elevator one last time, looks down the hallway one more time, and walks out of frame. The elevator closes. Empty. She is never seen on camera again. Elisa had called her parents every single night of her trip. On January the 31st, her checkout day, no call came. Her parents waited, called the hotel, got no answers, flew to Los Angeles, filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. February the 6th, 2013. The LAPD launched a search. Police dogs swept the Cecil Hotel. Detectives reviewed room records, interviewed staff. They searched the surrounding blocks of Skid Row. Nothing. No scent trail. No evidence of disturbance in her room. No witnesses. No digital activity on her phone. The elevator footage was released on February the 14th in desperation, hoping the public could identify something the detectives could not. The world watched it 20 million times and counting, and the world had no answers either. Guests on multiple floors had been complaining about the water for days. Low pressure, dark color, a smell they couldn't name. On February the 19th, 19 days after the elevator footage, a maintenance worker was sent to the roof. The Cecil Hotel had 4 industrial water tanks on its roof. Black metal cylinders, approximately 8 feet tall. They fed water to every floor, every room, every tap. One of the hatches was open. He looked inside. Elisa Lam was in the water. She was unclothed. Her clothing was floating alongside her in the tank. She had been there for 19 days, and for 19 days, guests of the Cecil Hotel had been using that water, showering in it, brushing their teeth with it, drinking it. LAPD homicide was called immediately. The case was treated as suspicious. The Cecil's history made foul play the immediate assumption, and the investigation immediately hit a wall, one that became the foundation of every conspiracy theory that followed: the hatch on the water tank. These tanks are sealed from the outside. A heavy metal hatch that can only be opened and closed from the exterior. So how did Elisa get inside? And if she got inside herself, who closed the hatch above her? Court documents from a lawsuit later filed against the hotel, filed as public record in Los Angeles Superior Court, answered this with specific technical detail. The rooftop access door at the Cecil had an electronic alarm. Anytime it opened, staff were alerted. That alarm never triggered. Not once. Not in January or February 2013, meaning Elisa did not use the main roof access door. She used one of the hotel's 3 fire escape staircases, all leading directly to the roof, none of which were alarmed. An international travel blogger later posted a video demonstrating this. They walked the fire escape from a guest floor to the rooftop in under 3 minutes, without triggering a single alarm. The court documents stated that someone could reach the top of the water tanks by climbing a red utility ladder attached to an elevator housing structure on the roof. The physical access was possible. Confirmed. Document. But the hatch. The hatch that could not be closed from inside. Investigators concluded, based on physical evidence, that the hatch was not fully sealed when Elisa entered the tank. The weight of the lid, combined with wind or the hatch simply settling on its own, could have closed it partially or fully after she was already inside. It was not locked, it was heavy, and she could not get back out. The toxicology report answered the question the entire world had been asking since February the 14th. Elisa's prescribed medications, mood stabilizers, antidepressants, were not present at therapeutic levels in her bloodstream. The medication had either been stopped, disrupted, or had become ineffective. And without that medication, a severe manic episode was not just possible, it was almost inevitable. Mania and bipolar disorder is not just elevated mood. Severe mania includes psychosis, hallucinations that are completely indistinguishable from reality, Not just visual, but sounds, smells, physical sensations. A person in a manic psychotic episode is not pretending to be afraid. They are genuinely, completely terrified of things only they can perceive. The gestures in the elevator, the checking of the corridor, the hiding, the disconnected movements of her hands. Every single one of these behaviors is documented in medical literature as consistent with a manic episode. Elisa Lam was not communicating with a supernatural entity. She was inside a psychological emergency, alone, in the middle of the night, in the Cecil Hotel. And there was no one there to help her. Whatever she saw in that hallway, whatever she believed was coming for her, it was real to her, completely, absolutely, viscerally real. And she ran from it, up the fire escape, onto the roof, and into a tank of water, in the dark. The internet built an empire of theories on this case. A death metal band had released album artwork showing a man submerged in a water tank before Elisa's body was found. The internet called it a ritual. It was a coincidence. A tuberculosis testing program operating on Skid Row at the time was named Lam Elisa, a standard medical acronym. The internet called it a blood ritual. It was a naming convention used across thousands of medical tests worldwide. People said the elevator footage was edited, time removed, to hide a perpetrator. LAPD confirmed the footage was slowed only to make it easier to view. Here's the truth about why these theories spread. Because the real answer is harder to accept. A monster you can name and catch is terrifying. A monster you can expose gives you back a sense of control. But a 21-year-old woman dying alone in the dark because her medication stopped working and no one was there. That is a different kind of horror entirely. Because it can happen to anyone. Because it requires no supernatural explanation and no villain and no resolution. And that is precisely why it is the most frightening story of all. Here is what exists. What is documented. What you can verify for yourself right now. The elevator surveillance footage released by the LAPD February the 14th, 2013. Publicly available on YouTube. Over 20 million views. The LAPD Missing Persons Report, filed February the 6th, 2013. Public record. The Los Angeles County Coroner Report, official finding, accidental drowning. Available through public records request to the LA County Department of Medical Examiner Coroner. The lawsuit filed against the Cecil Hotel. Documents filed in Los Angeles Superior Court contain specific technical details about the roof access, the alarm system, and the water tank structure. Public court filings. Elisa's Tumblr blog, Nouvelle Nouveau, was publicly accessible for years after her death. Archived screenshots exist across multiple verified sources online. News coverage. The Los Angeles Times, NBC Los Angeles, CBS News, and international outlets reported extensively throughout 2013. All archives are publicly searchable. The Cecil Hotel still stands at 640 South Main Street, Los Angeles, rebranded as Stay on Main. You can look it up on Google Maps right now. A 4-part Netflix documentary, Crime Scene, The Vanishing at the Cecil Hotel, was released in 2021. It includes interviews with investigators, hotel staff, and the internet researchers who built the conspiracies. Elisa Lam loved books. She had opinions about which ones were too heavy to carry. She worried about practical things. She had parents who waited every night for her call. She was a person, not a mystery, not a meme, not a conspiracy. The coroner ruled her death accidental. The LAPD closed the case. The internet moved on. But the question that stays with me, the one I cannot stop thinking about, is not how she got into the tank. In that elevator? At 12:53 a.m., Elisa Lam was clearly terrified. She was in crisis, visibly, on camera, in a building full of people, and not a single person came. Not a staff member, not another guest. Not one person walked down that hallway. The Cecil Hotel had a front desk operating 24 hours. It had security cameras on every floor, and a young woman in the middle of a psychiatric crisis wandered that building alone for hours, and no one noticed. That is the real horror beneath this story. Not what was in the water, not what was in the hallway, but how invisible a person in pain can become. The fear beneath is not always a monster. Sometimes it's a system that looks the other way. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And remember, the fear beneath is always closer than you think.